Thank you for browsing page 121. Today I'm going to take a look at Battlesystem miniature rules. I'm going to take a look at the magic, how your magic user works in the game. I know that the last video I said I'd be looking at archers, but my time situation's changed a little bit and I wanted to set up a nice little display for the archers. So I'll do that sometime down the line when I have more time. But over to the magic. Oh, magic. Casting spells in a fantasy war game. That can be some fun. I really enjoy Battle System. I've played many fantasy war games. Warhammer is more of a science fiction game, but I've played that for many years, and I can see a lot of Warhammer's roots in Battle System, but I see enough differences that I like it by itself. So here we're going to take a look at the casting of the spells. The spellcaster figure can cast as many as 2 spells in a single turn, and can cast spells 1 per step at any of these times, as long as the caster is not in contact with an enemy unit. During the caster's movement step, in place of movement, as long as the casting figure is not yet moved in the current turn, during the opponent's movement step, during the missile combat step. Target of a spell must be within an area of 90-degree arc in front of the caster. Remember that an individual figure can change facing freely during a turn, and includes pivoting to face a target just before casting a spell. Each spell listed for a spellcaster is usable once per battle. When the spell is used, it is crossed off the figure's list. And you get very limited spells in Battle System. You end up with something like you can only cast spells up to the number of hits you have. So if I have a wizard that has 5 hits, I can cast up to 5th level spells. Of those 5, I have to pick and choose. I'm not going to go a ton into how to pick and choose the spells, so much so I want to take a look at the effects of the spells today. So the effects of the spells are in each spell description. And we got a limited selection in the core rulebook. I know the idea was when this came out, they were going to be expanding this and adding more spells in other expansions, which they did, but not quite, I think, in the way that they'd planned. I don't think Battle System was a great seller for them. I know that Dark Sun, when it came out, a good portion of that was planned to actually be devoted to Battle System. And in fact, Dragon Kings, the hardcover Dark Sun book, has a lot of Battle System in it, and I'll show that in a future video. But for what we get listed in here today, I'm just going to take a look at some of the actual combat ones, which are pretty neat. We get Magic Missile. Level 1 spell, ranges 6 inches plus 2 inches per hit of caster. So if I'm a 5th level or 5 hit caster, that would be 6 plus 10, 16 inches. Duration instantaneous. Area of effect 1 figure or unit. The magic missile inflicts 1 hit upon the target for each hit of the caster. No attack die roll necessary, up to a maximum of 5. Armor checks are allowed against each hit. I changed one thing out of this. I don't put the maximum of 5. That's a 2nd edition holdover when they limited Magic Missile. For our game, you get 1 hit per hit of the caster. You get one hit on the target for each hit of the caster. So if my caster is somehow 9th level, then he'll get 9 hits on the target. As far as allowing the armor check, ordinarily Magic Missile allows no armor check or anything like that, but I understand what this is. It's kind of a game balance thing. They want to give you an armor check. So if I'm attacking just a unit of infantry, regular human infantry with this, I'm only going to be able to take out 1 figure with it, but I do trigger the morale phase, and they have to make a morale at a penalty because they've been subject to magic. Now, I want to clarify one thing. A few comments on my previous videos I've gotten the idea that people think I don't use morale in Battle System. I do. I just don't use it. I don't use every single morale trigger. Specifically, the one I have the most problem with is when a morale effect is triggered when the unit loses its first casualty. I know that that's when most units are tested in battle in real life, and I understand that. But if you have a unit that is hit by a magic missile and loses its first unit by magic missile, they're going to be making that morale check at a minus, because they're also going to have the horror of a magic user being on the field having inflicted damage to them. So they're going to be like a -2. Average morale is 11 for an infantry unit. Now they've got to roll a 9 on 2 die 10, 9 or less on 2 die 10. That's a pretty stiff penalty in my opinion. So I pull out the first casualty rule. I keep in the, if you lose half your unit in a one action phase, yes, then I do trigger morale there, and I trigger morale whenever magic or dragons are on the field or demons or anything like that. So didn't want anybody to think I don't use morale. I just don't use it as overwhelmingly as the rules have it. Morale is a big part of a lot of games. Warhammer, morale plays a huge part in Warhammer. My son Adam will tell you it's something I've never really liked. I don't like something like morale to decide the battle. Again, I know in real life it does, but that's not what I'm playing. I'm not playing real life. I'm playing fantasy. So, and the next one I want to take a look at is going to be Fireball, because that's everybody's go-to combat spell, right? Well, it's not bad in battle system. It's a level 3 spell. Ranges 2 inches per hit of the caster. So again, if my caster is 5 hits, that's 20. That's 100 or 10 inches. Sorry. Duration is instantaneous. 2 figures 1 inch or less apart. The fireball explodes around the figures, inflicting attack dice of 3 die 8 per hit, or per unit. So if I have 2 units, I'll go back to my infantry unit again. I fireball my infantry unit. I then roll 3 die 8 against 2 figures in the infantry unit, and I'm looking to capture some hits here. So I want to roll a 4 or 5, 6, 7, or 8, and that will tell me how much damage I inflict. I can only kill 2 figures with this, but there's a good chance I can definitely kill them. And then, of course, they have the check they have to make against magic use against them, and then the magic user on the field and things like that. So again, Fireball's a real good one. Lightning Bolt. It's a level 3 spell. Range is 4 inches plus 1 inch per hit of casters. It'll be 9 inches for my 5-hit caster. Duration's instantaneous. Area of effect is a line 3 inches long. The lightning bolt begins at a point within range of the spellcaster, and then shoots 3 inches from that point directly outward from the front side of the caster. A figure whose body, but not just weapon, equipment, or base, lies in the area of effect suffers attack die of 8, 3 die 8. So this you can go ahead and shoot across multiple figures, depending on how you do it. It's almost like a cannon shot in any of the old Napoleonics games, or in the real world where they used cannon against troops in the Napoleonic Wars. So you can kind of configure yourself on the corner of a formation. You go ahead and you fire the lightning bolt, so it'll go through. It'll hit the maximum number of figures, 2 or 3, depending on, again, if it's infantry, you're probably going to get 2 to 3, maybe even 4, depending on how you angle the shot. And then they're all going to suffer 3 die 8 injury. Now, it's still possible that your 3 die 8 will yield poor rolls. If I go to my card here and I roll my 3 die 8, I roll all 1, 2, or 3, I get 0 wounds on all 3 dice. So it's entirely possible to not injure at least one figure with a lightning bolt. Odds are you're going to, but it is possible. Next one we're going to take a look at, a little out of order, is Haste. It's a level 3 spell. Range is contact. Duration is 2 turns. Area of effect is 1 figure. The haste spell doubles a figure's movement allowance and number of attack dice. The hasted figure always receives the melee advantage bonus, which is a rule on page 41, regardless of weapon type, unless he is fighting a foe who is also hasted. So essentially it'll double my movement of 1 figure. So this spell is really good if you have, say for instance, a dragon on the field. It's a friendly dragon, friendly to your forces. You go ahead and you hit that dragon with a haste. It doubles its speed, it doubles its number of attack dice. So if it normally has 2 die 8 attack dice, now it'll have 4 die 8 attack dice to inflict damage. So haste is very good. And you're noticing, like, especially Magic Missile's hurting more than it would in the game. And Magic Missile's hurting up to 1 hit, up to 1 figure or unit. That's 10 guys. Magic Missile can't hurt 10 guys in the core game. Well, I understand that. But that's the difference between Battlesystem and the core game. So just some differences there. And you have to kind of accept that as just a rule function in Battlesystem. You also get, Hold Monster, which will be a 1-figure, level 5 casting or spell, ranges 1 inch per hit of casters. So again, my 5-hit caster would be 5 inches. 1 turn per 2 units of casters, so you'd hold them at 3 units, because you always round up in Battlesystem. 1 figure. The caster paralyzes any 1 figure if the spell is successfully cast. To determine success, roll 1 die 10 of the caster. Subtract 3 from the die roll if the figure represents creatures of a 10-to-1 ratio, so my infantry. If the result is greater than the number of hits of the victim, the spell works and the victim must remain in place, unable to move, attack for the duration. So again, if I hit my 10-man figure of human infantry for this, I have to take a -3 off my 1 die roll, and my result has to be greater than 1 in order for my spell to work. So it's kind of neat. There's a little chance of spell failure there, and I like it. And again, a Hold Monster would not affect 10 creatures in one game, but you have to remember too, in Battlesystem, you're assuming that, maybe the fireball or the whatever killed, 2 or 3 figures and the rest ran off. Not necessarily due to morale. It's just that the entire 10-man figure is never assumed to have been killed. It's assumed that some have run off. You do a recoup phase at the end of the battle where you find out what percentage of your unit guys are still alive and had just run off or are wounded. And then we have Teleport, always useful. You get to move around on the table. This is a level 5 spell. The range of the spellcaster, instantaneous effect, and area of effect is the spellcaster. It allows the spellcaster to move instantly to any other place on the table or even leave the battle in an emergency. A figure with 2 teleport spells can leave the battle with 1 spell and return during the later step, or return with the other spell. Caster's destination can be any location on the battlefield not occupied by another unit. So teleport is just as useful here as it is in regular D&D. And then coming over, I'm going to skip a few of these, and we're going to go take a look. There's only one 8th level spell, Mass Charm, and there's only one 9th level spell, Meteor Swarm. It's very, very hard to be able to cast those spells. You have to have so many hits. To cast a 9th level spell, you'd have to have 9 hits, which means in this Battlesystem, you'd have to be at least a 27th level mage. So taking a look here, the main one I want to look at under the clerics is the Cure Hits. Cure Hits is a level 4 spell. It's a ranges contact. It's permanent. 1 individual figure, so it's a hero. When a priest casts the spell on an eligible target, the recipient immediately has some of his wounds healed. Roll 1 die 6, remove that many hits from the character. This spell cannot be used on a figure that has been slain. So if I have a hero out on the field, and I haven't talked about heroes yet, but the player characters would be heroes, and they'd be wandering around, and maybe they have 4 hits. If you have a hero who's down 3 hits, hopefully there's a cleric around who can cast the level 4 Cure Hits spell and bring him back up to power. So that's it. That's just a real quick look at magic spells themselves in the game. I realize this is not comprehensive. This is just kind of an intro to spell use. I'll do a future video where I take a deeper dive into how you get your spells, how many you have, based on how many hits you have, which hits in this game equals your level of casting. So that's all I've got to say today on page 121. I want to thank you for your time. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time.